Number 8. Shadina Smith. On January the 16th of 2021, Shadina Smith had just left her New York City apartment in West 150th Street, near Frederick Douglass Boulevard, when she was accosted by a young man. He allegedly groped her, to which Smith reacted by returning home and telling her fiancé, 26-year-old Josh Hall. The couple rushed outside and confronted the aggressor, later identified as Musa Cisse, aged 19, in the lobby of the apartment building. Hall reportedly punched him in the face, and Cisse retaliated by brandishing a weapon and opening fire on the couple. 29-year-old Smith was struck 3 times in the chest, while Hall was shot in the shoulder and abdomen. The couple were rushed to Harlem Hospital, where Hall was stabilized while Smith passed away. The deadly broad daylight shooting prompted an international manhunt for Cisse, whom the authorities initially suspected had fled to West Africa. 10 months after the incident, he was found behind the wheel of a stolen car on Riverside Drive in Sugar Hill. Cisse initially gave officers a fake name, but NYPD detectives soon realized he was the suspect for whom they'd been searching in connection to Smith's killing. Following his arrest, Cisse faced murder, attempted murder, and several weapons charges. Today's featured fan shoutout is Footmouse3042. To appear in our next video, send us your pic, rocking the latest merch from theywillkillyou.com, and send it in to us on Instagram today. Number 7. Marie Laguerre. Surveillance footage of a confrontation on a street in Paris caused considerable outrage online in 2018 after a young woman was harassed and assaulted. Engineering student Marie Laguerre, aged 22, was passing by a cafe patio when her path intersected with that of a man who allegedly made lewd comments and wolf whistled her. Laguerre reportedly told him to shut up, and they both continued walking in separate directions. Moments later, the man grabbed an ashtray from one of the cafe's tables and threw it over the patio at Laguerre, narrowly missing her. He then walked back to the young woman and, without warning or provocation, forcefully struck her across the face. The attacker retreated and others from the patio intervened, including a man who'd armed himself with a chair to ensure he maintained his distance. The 25-year-old aggressor, only identified as Firas M under French court rules, was subsequently arrested and given 6 months in prison, along with a further 6-month suspended sentence. Firas wasn't charged with sexual harassment, as investigators found evidence of it to have been insufficient, but was ordered to undergo psychological treatment and attend a course on sexual violence awareness. He didn't have a fixed address at the time of the attack on Laguerre and had already served time in prison for violence against his mother and for pimping. As news of the assault began to circulate, Laguerre was praised for standing up to her harasser, and she subsequently started a website where other victims could share their stories. The incident also added to the momentum of a pre-existing push for French legislation that would see catcallers and aggressively lecherous individuals facing potential on-the-spot fines of over $750. Number 6. AISHA Walker. On November the 4th of 2017 in Winnipeg, Canada, a transgender woman was brutally attacked following a confrontation on a bus. 28-year-old AISHA Walker intervened after seeing that an intoxicated man was grinding up against a young female passenger, whom Walker had deduced was a stranger to her. A verbal confrontation ensued, to which a third man, whom up to that point had been completely uninvolved in the exchange, reacted by telling Walker and the man she'd accused of harassment to shut up and sit down. The former maintained that she'd only been trying to protect a fellow passenger, but the third man suddenly punched her in the face. The attacker then got off the bus at the University of Winnipeg and fled the scene. Walker reported the assault to the bus driver, who subsequently cleared the vehicle and told her to file a police report. The forceful blow she'd sustained had left her with a black eye, as well as damage to 7 of her teeth, which were chipped or broken. The police informed Walker that Manitoba Health would cover her emergency dental surgery. On December the 12th of 2017, the authorities announced that they'd arrested the man suspected of having attacked her and charged him with assault causing bodily harm. Number 5. Amanda Nunes. At around 6:30 a.m. on August the 31st of 2020, Amanda Nunes was getting breakfast at a food stand in the city of Belford Roxo in the Brazilian state of Rio de Janeiro. 30-year-old Nunes overheard a couple making cruel comments about her weight and confronted them. A heated verbal argument ensued, during the course of which, according to local authorities, Nunes slapped the man in the face. The latter then suddenly brandished a pistol and shot Nunez in the head. She was rushed to the hospital and subsequently transferred to an ICU, where she succumbed to her gunshot injury a few hours later. In the incident's immediate aftermath, activists were filmed walking through the streets while wearing t-shirts with Nunez's face and demanding justice for her. As of the latest updates on the shooting, which Nunez's social media followers labeled a cowardly act, local police were still reviewing CCTV footage and talking to witnesses in an effort to identify her killer. Number 4. Andrew Turner. On August 28th of 2021, Kelsey O'Hara and her friends were out drinking in Bridlington, England. A confrontation ensued between 19-year-old O'Hara and Andrew Turner, aged 58. The former asked that the man apologize for a previous incident in which he'd allegedly bumped into one of her friends. Turner refused, to which O'Hara reacted by throwing her purse onto the ground and attacking him. O'Hara, whom multiple local media outlets would later describe as a baby-faced teenager, punched Turner in the head. She delivered the strike with such force that the man was knocked unconscious. He collapsed and hit the pavement with the back of his head, sustaining a cut of 5 to 7 inches. Turner tried getting to his feet upon regaining consciousness, but was initially unable to do so. Police and paramedics arrived at the scene, but he refused to be taken to a hospital, as his injuries were not believed to have been that severe. Within days, on September the 3rd, Turner passed away and the authorities launched a murder investigation. They didn't disclose the cause of the man's death, but citing evidence from a pathologist and a neuropathologist determined that O'Hara's punch hadn't been a factor in his passing. The teenager, who admitted wounding, was spared jail time in early April of 2022 and instead sentenced to a 6-month curfew. Number 3. Juliet Powell Brown. 47-year-old Juliet Powell Brown was parked in a sedan along with her husband and another woman at a discount tire store in Aurora, Colorado. On August the 7th of 2018, at around 5:30 p.m., Henry Wardwell backed his GMC pickup truck, which had a camping trailer in tow, into the sedan. 48-year-old Wardwell told the trio that he would be getting his insurance and registration so that they could deal with the small fender bender. It would later emerge that the man didn't have insurance and was also driving without a valid license. Once he was back in his pickup truck, Wardwell drove off, prompting Powell Brown and her family to follow him until he eventually stopped farther down the street. The woman and her husband jumped out of their vehicle to confront him, approaching the pickup truck on the driver's side. Wardwell then turned his steering wheel, accelerated, and tried to get away by making a U-turn. In doing so, he struck Powell Brown, causing her to fall and become trapped under the wheels of the trailer. Wardwell then continued driving, dragging the woman behind his vehicle until she was freed in the area of South Chambers Road, where her mangled body was subsequently found. Powell Brown, who local media outlets reported was a newlywed, was later pronounced dead. Wardwell was ultimately sentenced to 18 years in prison after being convicted on 5 counts, including leaving the scene of an accident involving death, a Class 3 felony, and vehicular manslaughter. Number 2. Orm. A lover's spat involving 3 people from Phetchabun, Thailand, devolved into an attack involving a sword in April of 2022. As reported by local media, 40-year-old Orm had been having relations with a couple only identified as Air and his wife Note, aged 35 and 38 respectively. The latter two stopped meeting up with Orm roughly a year prior after she'd asked if her Bangkok-based boyfriend could join them. In the meantime, Orm broke off her relationship with the man and began pestering the couple to resume their prior arrangement, which Air and Note repeatedly refused. After yet another rejection in early April, Orm went to their home armed with a sword. The couple filmed the ensuing confrontation as they took shelter behind their front door. After pulling the blade from its hilt, Orm rammed it through a crack between the front door and the door frame. The razor-sharp sword was only inches from Air's face, with the tip pointed towards Note, but fortunately no one was hurt. The woman eventually left the scene following repeated pleas from Air. The couple later spoke to the media and claimed to have had some really great times with Orm in the past. After they'd stopped seeing her, however, they noted that she kept pressuring them for intercourse and harassing them, which they attributed to her developing feelings for one or both of them. Note and Air didn't report it to the police because they wanted to keep their lifestyle private. They hoped that by sharing the footage of the sword attack, Orm's newfound notoriety would deter her from further harassment. Number 1. Jamie Rathburn. In 2019, a South Carolina woman was arrested after sneaking into an elementary school and confronting children who who'd reportedly been bullying her son. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office was alerted to the incident by other parents who'd seen a video that Jamie Rathburn had uploaded to her Facebook. In the clip, the woman ranted about she'd made her way to her son's classroom and, unsure who'd actually been responsible for the alleged bullying, threatened a group of children that they better stop messing with her kid. Surveillance footage confirmed that on May the 17th, she'd entered the Greenbrier Elementary School without performing the mandatory sign-in at the office. There was no audio in the video, but statements from witnesses maintained that Rathburn then began berating the children, aged 8 to 9, as they were lined up in the hall and waiting for class to begin. Rathburn was arrested a few days later and charged with non-student interfering, disrupting or disturbing schools. The woman was banned from the learning institution's property. While she later apologized and claimed that her emotions had gotten the better of her, Rathburn criticized what she'd deemed a poor handling of the bullying incident by the school. Thanks for watching. Who would you rather confront? A professional boxer or a Karen? Let us know in the comments section below.